I'm going to show you a match, the first match between Serral and Special during the semifinals 2018 WCS Leipzig tournament. It's a best of 5. The first match takes place on Neon Violet Square. (2018) WCS Leipzig is a major tournament, part of Starcraft World Championship Series. The best player of this tournament is gonna go to Starcraft 2 World Championship Global Finals. Global Finals are derived of players from various tournaments that occur during the year. Here you can see the group stage, the brackets. I'm going to show you this match right here, Serral versus Special on Neon Violet Square. Here you can also see a bunch of statistics of this tournament, region, country, and these are the map statistics. Furthermore, I'll show you the tournaments that derive to tournaments that complete Starcraft 2 Championship Series. So these are the tournaments right here. The best players will go to the global finals. And there's also WCS Global Events, Katowice, and GSL versus the World in Seoul. And you can watch some of these castings on AndYouLeftTheGame YouTube channel. You can find the channel by typing AndYouLeftTheGame in the search bar. You may come up with 2 channels or 1. If one channel comes up without blank space, click on it and you'll be straight in the channel itself. If for any reason you'll get 2 of these, or the one with blank spaces in it, then click on it, look to the right to see featured channels and click on the featured channels right here. Then you'll be in the channel itself. Then go to the playlist and find the tournament you want to see and the match you want to see. Otherwise, you can type in the name here. Furthermore, here's the visual representation of Starcraft World Championship Series Global Finals. 8 players from Korea versus 8 players from the circuit. Total prize pool $500,000. There's also a very powerful tournament, IEM Katowice, $250,000 payout. Korea is separated into 3 GSL leagues and 2 super tournaments, while the rest of the world is separated into Leipzig, Austin, Valencia, Montreal circuit and 4 challengers, each 10,000 per circuit region. Now that we know about the tournament, let's move on to the players. The first player is Serral. Serral is a player from Finland. He plays the Zerg, and he accumulated over $130,000 playing Starcraft 2. Here you can find interviews, achievements, and can take a look at the winnings, the results, the events themselves, learn more about the events, and check out his pictures. His opponent is a Terran player, goes by the nickname of Special. Juan Carlos Tena Lopez, also known as Major, is a Mexican Terran player who is currently playing for Exceed Esports. Special is known for his aggressive style of play, even during the mid and late game, used in tandem with strong mechanics and multitasking. He usually prefers to use as much bio infantry as he can, taking full advantage of the mobility using multi-pronged drops attacks and pokes to beat his opponents into submission while the macros and multitask more effectively. His early game aggression is usually centered around the 2 racks. On offensive rush off of 2 fast barracks, this build is to abuse the commonly used fast expand builds in all matchups. The attack should only last as long as it can do damage, that is, Russian loses power along the attack lasts because only 2 barracks are producing. After the attack factory or starport attack is must, the opponent will have adjusted to an anti-marine strategy by then. It should be noted that this build and all the other mentioned in adaptations are weak to counter attacks or pushes straight after you have finished the attack, hence why you will need to do considerable damage or keep the opponent busy with bunkers to buy time. So he's a player that will certainly try to cheese. Pretty much attack you early on or attack you with a very interesting composition of troops that could be very hard to counter in any part of the game. In any case, here you can stop the video, go back, read about him more, go to his achievements here, learn where he won, what kind of prizes he won, and where he was more successful, which year he was prevailing and not, and so on and so forth. There are many videos you can watch. So VODs pretty much stand for replays in Starcraft 2. And you can already see that there are many interviews where he's going to talk about himself, about the game, tell you a bunch of tips. And here's his picture right here. Now let's go to the match itself. Serral versus Special Neon Violet Square LEWCS Leipzig 2018. We'll be watching this match from Serral's perspective. Serral is a Zerg player who will be starting in the bottom right corner. And Serral is also very much an aggressive player. He plays very well. And Zerg is a race that can expand very quickly. Serral tries to deny his opponent's ability to expand further. The way games go with Serral is that by the time both of these races, or both of the opponents, expand up to the 4th or 5th base, Serral starts to deny his opponent an ability to mine his last base. So for example, if there is a macro focus game and a economy focus game and the battles begin, Serral with all of its might will try to not allow his opponent to expand further, or will try to destroy the last base his opponent built. In this case, he continuously reduces the mineral intake of his opponent, and at the same time, with the ability of the Zerg, he's consistently trying to expand and try at least one, and he tries to be at least one hive forward of his opponents. So if he's able to deny his opponent's ability to expand further, for example 4th, 5th or 6th base, it could be that Serral in just 5 minutes or less will have 2 additional hatcheries out there, and he will be outproducing his opponent because his opponent was not able to expand at the same rate as the Zerg. And this is where the Zerg is very dangerous, and he has to be countered consistently with destroyed hatcheries, reduced drones, and obviously destroyed army if possible. Terran will try to bait his opponents into attacking it, however that can very much easily play against the Terran if the Terran consistently stays on the defensive but does not try to expand any further. Here we see that Serral has decided to build himself 3 super ultra quick hatcheries and is taking away the possibility of any kind of aggression whatsoever. By 3 minutes 30 or 4 minutes, approximately easily 10-50 Marines can show up with cheese, as we read previously, 2 barrack attacks, and would wipe everything here off the face of the map. However, it looks like none of these players have decided to cheese this game just yet. Obviously, as we read previously about Special, he likes to use Bio, and Bio is ruthlessly countered by Banelings, so if just Serral could build himself a lot of Banelings, he would be able to get rid of all those Marines and Marauders in a matter of seconds. Here we see that Terran is already starting to prepare for a job. 4 minutes, he has a medevac and the first Marine is built. Serral has 4 queens. 3 of those queens are allocated to 1 hatchery where he expects some aggression. And here we see a massive Hellion drop. That's like Zerg's nightmare. There's pretty much no easy counter to that. It's just that the Terran somewhat decided not to commit to this, because I'm sure he could have moved forward. Those links wouldn't be much of a difference. However, obviously some of those Hellions would have been lost. I guess that Special decided to do another job, because this was a perfect job. He went in, he killed quite a few drones, he got out, he didn't lose any of those Hellions. However, we'll never know if he could have got any more out of that. Now that's another drop of the same medevac. However, this time it looks like the Zerg is a little bit more prepared with all those Banelings, and this Baneling just devastated the Hellbats. The Hellions can turn into Hellbats and vice versa. Hellions have increased speed, which allowed them to consistently run away, but the Hellbats are more sturdy, stronger troops in a stand-up. Hellbats are more capable in a stand-up engagement. Here, the script is being spread at an enormous level, and that means that the Terran player, instead of dropping mules, will be forced by Serral's efforts to spread creep to use his scans that will reveal creep tumors, and he will have to destroy these creep tumors. The creep for the Zerg helps to see the map. The fog of war is being consistently reduced, and the Zerg unit speed is increased by a little bit, but just by enough to be much more effective at surrounding or moving into position. You see, some of the troops, they clump up when they move forward, and in large armies they create these balls of units, and some of these balls don't really attack perfectly. They need to spread, and on the creep the Zerg units spread much faster. Besides that, newly built units will go closer to opponent's base on creep too, so all of this adds up, and the Zerg eventually ends up being victorious. In here we see a lot of build up, 7 seconds. There was certainly quite a bit of an aggression here, but as much as Terran was successful at killing those drones, he did lose those Hellions and Hellbats, which kind of equaled that army loss. As you can see, Terran lost 950 and Zerg 1300 in total by now, and we see the first Marine push. It looks like the Terran is not going to wait. He is going to engage, and Zerg responds with the same approach here. He attacks, and we already see Terran with tanks. These Hellbats at the front will tank Banelings. However, the Marines do have to get the hell out of there and go into the medevacs. That Liberator won't be of much use with all those Spore Crawlers and Queens targeting it consistently. And we see another drop here, but that drop is countered. It looks like Serral knows exactly what he's doing. His units are consistently moving on to engage the enemy. His links are very powerful indeed. Everything seems to go very well for Zerg so far. Obviously there's a lot of aggression here, however, as you can see, another hatchery is queued up, so Zerg is continuously moving forward with 81 drones, currently making 3,300 resources versus Terran's 2,500. That means that every minute goes by and Zerg makes thousands upon thousands of resources more, and that will certainly add up. Those drops are not doing any damage whatsoever. It looks like the Terran is just giving away his troops. Look at that, an entire batch of links was already waiting in the main and encountered that drop. The army composition for Zerg is pretty much Zergling Baneling, and he's leaving Roaches aside and going straight for Hydralisks, and the tank number is increasing. You see, the Marines simply cannot fight effectively against the Zerg Baneling attacks, so Specialists consistently being defeated in these kind of battles, and this aggression is just simply countered. Maybe it would be more effective against slower units such as Hydralisks. However, against links, Banelings, it's going to be a complete disaster. Look at that, look at those Banelings. Without the Banelings, the Zerg will simply retreat. Serral is only going to engage those Terran battalions with a massive number of Banelings, and unfortunately for Special, he's not pushing in when the Zerg does not have any Banelings. And look at that, all those Zerglings here are going to surround and eat up those Marines, and if the Zerglings die, a massive Baneling push will show up here. More than 90 units were queued up for the Zerg. He's separating his forces. Serral consistently tends to separate his forces in two so that as many troops as possible would be shooting or fighting at the same time. And it looks like both of the players are almost completely maxed out. This means we're going to soon see a major battle here. A successful drop is happening in Zerg's second base here, as you can see. However, these have been eradicated by just a few Banelings. It looks like there's a massive fight happening in the middle of the map. As you can see in the unit panel, there's at least 10 tanks, and these tanks are going to kill all these Zerglings in an instant. The most important thing right now is for the Zerg not to run into those tanks, and those tanks are certainly here to control the mid lane here. And to counter that, the Zerg decided to build the Vipers. Now these Vipers have clouds, and clouds can be dropped on top of tanks. Tanks are unable to see anything to those clouds, and they'll stop shooting. Without tanks in control of the area, those Zerglings with Banelings supported by Hydralisks will just eat those Marines alive. And as you can see, there are a hell of a lot of Marines and massive number of Banelings ready. It looks like Serral is going to commit to this attack. Oh wow, look at that, it's coming. Oh wow, look at that, it's gonna be madness. Oh wow, he moved out with his Marines now. There's hell of a lot of tanks. Oh, the clouds went down, the tanks are not doing anything, and the Zerglings with Banelings simply very quickly killed everything there. Without the tanks, his Marine army was just sitting ducks for those ferocious Zerg beasts right there. They're fast, explosive, and they can just kind of be expendable here because they're relatively cheap here. It looks like this marine tank play has proved to be a complete disaster, because Terran couldn't counter those clouds and just couldn't get those tanks shooting in these lines. Look at that. He mostly relies on the Zerglings here, and he will consistently retreat if his Banelings are out of hell. He already denied Terran's ability to build a 5th base in the southwest area. That's another battle right here. Too many tanks. Zerg decides to retreat, and those tanks need more clouds on them. Besides that, the Zerglings managed to push through the supply depots, blocking entry into the 2nd base, and those Zerglings there just simply killed off massive numbers, 10 SUVs there. The Terran is still trying to make drops, but these drops won't do much when the Zerg has nearly 200 supply. He can just send links with speed here. Look at that. Those Vipers will pick up anything there that's out there, bring it to the army. A Viper has the ability to simply kind of strap onto an enemy unit such as tank or a medvac or any kind of airplane and just bring it back into his swarm, and the swarm will just destroy that aircraft very easily. And these lone liberators are not going to be of use against the Zerg army that's currently at 200 supply. More Banelings are being built. These Marines without the tanks are not going to do much about this, and it looks like the Zerglings in the north caught up with those 2 tanks there. It looks those 2 tanks were not even supported by the Marines. So far Special is not able to bait the Zerg to his tanks here. Boom, look at those clouds, that's it. 3-4 tanks are unable to do anything, and in that time the Banelings together with Zerglings are going to crush any kind of marine force. If Zerglings and Banelings die, then a relatively large number of Hydralisks supported by Hydralisks will move in, and as well more units have been queued up, and more Zerglings have been built. So he keeps a consistent number of up to 20 or up to like 18 Hydralisks, up to 100 Zerglings that he is morphing into Banelings, and in this way he is able to be in control. Very swiftly he is moving his forces around the bases and dealing with the drops. Using the Vipers, he's picking those Medivacs, tanks, and other units to his army. Look at that, these Medivacs right there. This one got another one picked up by the Viper and destroyed very quickly. His army is moving really fast. He hit his army into 2 groups. His Vipers are on second key right here, and he's moving into Special's base right now. Special was not able to mine for a very long time his 5th base there. It looks like he dropped many mules here. His income increased quite a bit, but now look at those Banelings exploding here. They'll get rid of that command center supported by orbital command, and this is a complete disaster for the Terran player. His income without that 5th base has dropped in half to like 1,500, and there's not so many places to expand besides that one area with only a few mineral patches, which is very bad because the income is just not there. Now the Zerg player on the other hand is continuously building more Zerglings, more Banelings, and simply advancing. Look at that, those tanks were not even in the clouds when they got attacked. It looks like there were no Marines to support the tanks in the front, and without an army and income, the Terran player was left with nothing but a GG out. I think that was just absolutely amazing match. It's full of action, the mortal enemies, Terran versus Zerg, and it looks like this time right here, aliens have prevailed.